In this episode of Fuck Yeah Industrial, we're getting into the song Slave. We're getting into the guitars in the song Slave off the album Darkness Rise. So, let's get into it.
You're a fucking slave, addicted to your faces.
So once again, I want to preface this video that I am not using screen capture software. I am using a video camera to capture the screen. And that's just the way it is, and that's the way we're doing it. So let's just get into this. Let's hear a bit of the song. You've heard, if you've been following along, the other previous Fuck Yeah Industrials, we've gone through the synths, the drums, and now we're going through the guitars, and we, as usual, we play a little snippet. I'm going to play... Yeah, let's just play some of it.
You're a fucking slave, addicted to your faces, your data, your political spaces. The algorithm is a weapon used to manipulate political elections, psychographic data collected to predict our mental status. You're a fucking slave, slave. You're a fucking slave, slave. What can I disconnect? Fuck the virtual space. What can I disconnect? Fuck the net. Fuck with the data you create. Slave.
So, as you can hear there, well, maybe you can't, the guitars are not, they're there, but they kind of fit in with everything, so you may not be able to discern them. I've also done some things to them that kind of make them, well, almost white noise-ish. So let's listen to the guitar parts. So this is the first guitar part. So that was a sample I found online somewhere, a royalty-free Creative Commons sample that I was free to use, zero attribution type stuff. I didn't really manipulate it too much. It was just, it seemed to fit the song, and that's kind of what that particular piece was. With this album, I was originally going to play the guitar parts myself, but when it came to start recording guitars, the guitar I normally used was fucked, and it's like I opened it up, looked at everything seems fine. I think it was just, the guitar was just too old and it finally fucking died, so quite frankly I decided I wasn't going to replace it, because I've had it for the last, how many, I think 22-ish years or something like that, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 24 years, I can't remember, it's been so long. But it was one of those like cheap starter guitars, and I've repaired it so many fucking times, and this time I just like, no, I can't repair this, I don't know what's going on. So I decided to retire it, and for this album, in place of what I was going to play, I went online and found a bunch of samples and just did samples for this entire album for the guitar parts. So that was the first guitar part. I did not manipulate it or do any EQing to it in any way. That's what it sounds like. normally. And then there was, let's just listen here. So that's a couple of other guitar parts. There's a guitar chug in there, and there's a chord in there. But basically, what I did, so the guitar chug. Let's just solo this. So this is another sample that I used. I'll show you what I did to the sample just to kind of make it my own. As you can see here, it has a wave shaper. I did use the wave shaper a lot to really kind of take these samples and kind of make them my own, because I wanted to give it, well, obviously make them my own. And I created a custom, I do believe this is a custom wave shape that I used in the, I'll just move this over a little bit. It's a custom wave shape that I used, that I created to kind of create like a grittier type sound and distortion, and that's kind of how I rolled. And I also used, like, basically all the guitars in this were cut up, and I kind of, well, this is what I did, was I ended up using the gross beat and kind of creating all these kind of glitchy patterns and stuff. And so the guitars have a glitchy feel in this song. You know, it just something that I wanted to do. It seemed to fit, and that's just kind of how I did the samples. The next thing is the guitar chord. I think this is a C chord. Actually, honestly, I don't know what chord it is. Like I said, in the previous video, I don't have any music theory knowledge, but this is what sounded good to me, and I just kind of went with it. So, let's just, oh, okay, yeah, there's another chug in here. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there's this chord. Basically, I clipped it. It's really quick. You know, it's just a quick chord. It's gonna play again here, and all these samples, guitar samples, were distorted already, but I went in and just added that little bit of extra just to kind of make it my own, and you know, that whole thing. And this chord, I used the wave shaper. It's the same wave shape pattern. Let's just close that and that. Let's go. Yes, same wave shape. I really like this wave shape that I created. It added that gritty edge to it, and that's just kind of what it is. And that is basically the guitars for this song. That's kind of how it rolled. Like that. That's, out of all honesty, that's the majority of the guitars on this album. They are just samples that I used, that I've cut up and manipulated and maybe tweaked here or there, and then of course you know, distorted them to some extent or whatever. And yeah, that's the guitars for Slave. So I think you know, for me, being that when it came time to record guitars, my guitar broke down and it just stopped working. And when I tried to I messed around with it, played with the volume pot, all that kind of stuff. I couldn't get it loud enough to really be workable. So I guess it was time to retire the damn thing. So, but I do think that, you know, when shit like that happens, you know, you have to be you have to, you know, if something like that happens and you're in the middle of a process or some kind of challenge, you find another way of doing things. So this time, samples worked, you know, like I was like, okay, you know, I had a discussion with a friend, and he's like, "Use samples, motherfucker." So that's kind of what I did, and used samples and manipulated things. And granted, you know, if you're using something that somebody wants credit for, you do credit them, you know, or if you find stuff that's free, royalty free, Creative Commons zero attribution stuff, you can use that too, right? So I think if you don't have something, or if you know, it could be a piece of software like or soft synth, or even a hardware synthesizer, you know, you know, you find workarounds, and you know, like maybe you don't have a hardware synthesizer, use soft synths, or you don't have the best digital audio workstation software, or the best, you know, maybe you're doing things on a very, very, very small budget, if any budget at all. Like when I started doing industrial music, I was using a DOS-based software called Impulse Tracker, and you know, I didn't even when I was using that software, I was using a old, like I think it was a 386 computer, and you know, it didn't even have a fucking sound card, and I was using the internal computer speaker to write songs, and then eventually at a certain point, I did end up, when I could afford it, buying a sound card for the computer, and then there was issues trying to get it installed because the sound card came with a CD-ROM, and the computer I was using didn't have one. So fortunately, I had some people in my life at the time that were very skillful, and basically were computer people, basically got that set up for me, and you know, they transferred everything from the CD to the disc to floppy disks, and then put the floppy disk in, and then installed all the software and stuff. And you know, you have to start somewhere, and you know, you may not have the best tools, you may not have a hardware synthesizer, you may not have distortion pedals, but you work with what you have, and you know, yeah, so you work with what you have. And you know, I could give you another example. I've told this story many times. I think I've told this in previous videos. Like when I was writing my very first song, it wasn't for Twitch, but it was for another band. I wrote my first song, and you know, I was using Impulse Tracker, and I had no microphone, and I had no way of recording the vocals. So basically I was like, okay, well, I have these old headphones. What if I just, these old headphones from like the 70s, and what if I just plugged the headphone output into the mic input on the sound card, and just sang into that, and then take all those samples and cut them up and throw them into the software. And it was like I was singing into the earpiece on the headphone, and it was working. So like, you know, if you're, you know, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way of doing it. So yeah, I think that's it for this episode of Fuck Yeah Industrial. We will see you in the next one. The next episode, we're getting into vocals, I do believe, vocals and choral parts, and for the song Slave. So hope you're enjoying these videos. See you in the next one.
Fuck yeah. Your data